Hello, 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 hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm going to talk today a little bit about overthinking and overfeeling, and I hope that we can kind of understand a little bit more about these things, and therefore you can start to break it down a little bit. So I hope you're all staying cool in this heat. Let's get on with some emotional work. So let's say you spark something off by maybe feeling a little bit anxious or sad or irritable or frustrated, or there's some kind of emotion going on. And in that case, it's not the mood that does the damage as such, if you were to continue thinking that way. It's the way you react. It's the way you get out of that problem. So the effort of trying to get out of it sometimes can cause even more bad feelings. And that's just the way that we're made. We're made to be like this, because it's not a nice place to be in when you're struggling against overthinking or having lots of mixed emotions. And the struggle is there to tell you that you're not quite getting it right in terms of getting out of it. If you see what I mean? It's a kind of strange thing to think about. It's an inefficient thing that we're doing. And what happens is that the more you struggle to get out of that frame of mind, the harder it gets. It's a little bit like if you've ever tried to add custard powder to water and you've stirred it. And if you've ever tried it, the harder you stir, the more vigorously you try, the harder it gets. Hi, Alison. Hi, Joe. Nice to see you. Yeah, so the harder it gets, the more effort you put in to kind of stir this custard mixture up, the harder it gets. But if you're really slow stirring, it just feels like you're stirring water. So it's a very similar kind of analogy to something like quicksand. And we've seen the films where people are in quicksand and they're struggling away, they can't get out. Hi, Val. Hi, Val. So it's the more that you struggle against these things, the harder it gets. Now, in that state of mind, if you add in a few self-criticisms, or maybe somebody else criticizes you, makes a bit of a judgment, you're going to start questioning yourself by asking yourself why. Why me? Why is this happening? Why do I feel like this? You might even start to ask yourself, what's wrong with me? And the feelings now are starting to get more and more vague, simply because we've got such a mixture now of emotions coming in, feeling perhaps insecure, feeling very unhappy, very down in the dumps. And we can even bring in past old emotions. We can draw them in at will. So we've got a real mixture, all different types of emotions and thoughts and feelings and so on. And in that state of mind, it only takes the slightest thing, just, a little puff of wind, and the whole storm comes in. So it's a very fragile way to be. So again, you start questioning yourself more and more. What's wrong? Why am I doing this? Why am I thinking like this? Why can't I get out of it? And you're exhausted. It takes so much effort to be able to maintain this and sustain it. It's really, really hard. And you're exhausted. And you might now be unaware of whatever caused the initial problem. You're just feeling really bad, really negative. Okay, so hold those thoughts for a minute, because I want to just talk about something else and then come back. I'm going to talk about something that our mind does really well, and that's problem solve. And we do it very often a mixture of the conscious mind, the unconscious mind, and we find that we can solve problems quite well. So, for example, say you were trying to get across a city that you didn't know, or even one you did know, but all the roads were closed or there was some problem. It's really easy for us to ask ourselves questions like, shall I go right? Shall I go left? Shall I go straight on? And to kind of use gut feelings. And if you get it a bit wrong, you can do a U-turn, you can try again, go the opposite way. So problem solving, we're really, really good at. And that is kind of like the problem with the emotions. Because when we get into these emotional overthinking modes, hi Penny, nice to see you. When we get into these overthinking modes, then what we try to do, we try to problem solve it. So we use the same kind of mentality that you would do to get yourself across a city, something very logical, to solve emotions which aren't necessarily logical at all. They often confound analysis. So what can we do about this? Well, when you're, oh, Ross, I'm just going to read Ross's. Okay, great, Ross. Great. I've read your comment. Lovely. Thank you so much. So there we are in the wrong kind of mode for the kind of problem that we've got. We're very much in a doing mode, even if it's made you feel down. And generally when you feel down, you don't feel like you want to do anything, but you're doing masses inside your head. So you are in a doing mode, maybe not physically doing stuff, but you are kind of, the cogs are whirring, you're trying to figure something out. It can even spark off, as we said before, negative emotions from the past, bringing in the kind of spilt milk scenario. You know, don't cry over spilt milk, but if you're in that frame of mind, then you probably will do. So we've got the wrong problem solving. So what do? We're in a very doing mode inside our heads. What we need to be is in a being mode. Because believe it or not, we can do being just as well as we can do doing. Now, in an ideal world, if we were all wired up absolutely perfectly, then what we would do, oh, hi Hayley. What we would do in an ideal world is we'd have some kind of negative emotion, we'd feel it, we'd acknowledge it, and we'd say, okay, that's fine. I'm not feeling so great. I'm not going to pay too much attention to it. And we'd sort of let it come into the mind and go out again. That's the ideal. That's really difficult. Okay. Yeah, Alison, yeah, it starts as a fairly minor problem, gets blown up, absolutely. And so this being mode that we could be in, being frame of mind, because the analysis doesn't help. So it's recognizing, it's very much an awareness thing that we're going down a road that's not going to help us. And this being is just looking at something from a different perspective. So I'm just going to give you a couple of examples and maybe do another Facebook Live on something a bit more practical of what you can do. So I want you to think about standing on a hill and looking down on a city or a town that you know. Now, unfortunately, if you're from somewhere very flat, it might not work so well. But you're looking down, you can imagine it, you're looking down onto this town. And you can see that, you know, some of the buildings are a bit shabby. Some of the buildings really need doing up. There's a few problems down there. There's maybe litter, pollution. You know, it's not perfect by any means. And you can see that there's some boarded up shops. Maybe it doesn't look very pretty. There's bits of overgrowth, and yeah, it's not great. Clear your screen. Stand on top of the same hill. Look down on your town. You can see people going around their lives, people smiling, just getting on with life. You can see that there's a bit of a hum. There's a bit of a busyness about this place. It's all, hi, Ronnie. It's all going well. People are moving about, walking about. There's people with their dogs, people chatting to one another. And, you know, there's lots of homes there, not just houses, but there's homes and there's community. And you're looking down on the same place and you're smiling. And it's a little bit like having two different perspectives. And it's the same place, and it's very easy to look at all the negatives, but it's equally easy to look at the positives if you want to find them. And that's a little bit like what you're doing in your mind, where you're trying to get this sense of being. Another example would be, I've been reading some books by Michael Neal recently, and he talks a lot about just being. And one of his examples is a really, really simple exercise. You've got to practice though, because it's harder than it sounds. You work your way up to 15 minutes of thinking about nothing. So you might start with 1 minute a day or 2 minutes. You might put a timer on your phone or something like that. And you allow thoughts to come in. So they come into your mind, you know, what's for tea, what have I got to do next, the list of things to do, but you don't pay any attention. You just let them drift off. Because in his theories, there's always another one coming behind it. He thinks of them like trains. So there's always another train coming along. There's always another train of thought. And so he just says, allow them to come in and allow them to pop out. And, oh yeah, Ross, yeah, mindfulness, yeah, it is. It's definitely a form of mindfulness that's been done, yeah. So you're allowing them in, you're allowing them out, and it just gives you that headspace of being, just being in a place rather than doing. And in that headspace, when you give your mind that chance to not simply be constantly, the cogs are whirring, that sounds weird because it doesn't sound like you're doing anything, and you're not, you're being. But in that place, that's when the answers come to you. So it's a little bit odd. It's the wrong way around, because you feel like you should be doing something, you should be thinking it through, you should be finding stuff out, you should be asking the question why. But as we all know, that doesn't work, and it's the being that really does help us. So thank you so much for joining me on this little Facebook Live. I'm going to do another one with a few more ideas about what you can do. Take care for now. Oh, I've just got one question, Sally. Hi, Sally. Yeah, it's really hard. So Sally's asking, you know, why is life so hard? Well, it can be, and it is just taking these different perspectives all the time. And it's practice. Like anything else, you know, anything that you were learning, you wouldn't expect to be really good first time. You would expect to be practicing. So it is just one of those things. It's like learning a musical instrument, learning a new language. You've just got to practice it a little bit each day, and it just gets so that this is second nature to you. And combined with maybe a few mind techniques here and there that could just speed up the process, then it all goes to the good. I've got another question. Oh, hi, Rachel. Okay, Ross is saying it's like with horses. Yeah, the answers or responses come in the pause. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, when you're working too hard with the horses, then it all goes wrong, doesn't it? It all unravels. And it's when you step back that the magic happens and something just comes to you. Thank you so much, everybody. Take care. Do have a go at being and not doing. And I will see you next time. Bye for now. Bye.